All right. Good morning. My name is Tadeola Osinubi, and I'm a father. That's me with my beautiful children. And for the next 10 minutes, we're going to take Nike's advice and not pretend like there aren't serious issues we need to solve. A study from Yale University proved that Black males encounter racial bias as early as preschool. Preschool. This was my experience. I was big, black, had a funny sounding name. They tried to put me on Ritalin and convinced me I had a bunch of behavioral issues I didn't. And while I managed to come through all of that and graduate salutatorian from college and do digital marketing for some of the biggest companies in the world, including Procter and Gamble, many of my peers did not, which birthed STEM Whisperers, which is a marketing technology focused college and career readiness STEM program designed to end the school to prison pipeline. I know I just threw a lot at you. Let me unpack it. The school to prison pipeline is a set of practices and policies that push at risk kids in failing schools out of the class and directly into prison. This is big business. The state of Ohio spends over $200,000 per juvenile offender. But it's a bigger problem for society. Ex cons have sky high unemployment. And while the recidivism rate by race is similar, which is the rate that they go back to jail, because these policies are targeted at Black and Latino communities, that 6% difference is orders of magnitude larger because it's spread across a wider base. So in most cases, the pipeline removes these kids from the economy permanently, which isn't smart because martech is in such high demand. Now, marketing technology or martech is any tech where the business model is advertising or marketing based. So, Facebook ads, Google ads, those recommendations on Amazon, that's all martech. I have an example of a Facebook ad from Peloton you may have seen. And companies like Peloton can't find professionals fast enough. Keyword being professional. So I'm not talking about being IG famous. I'm talking about an actual career path. Our solution is to kill both birds with the same stone, get them out of the school to prison pipeline and into a marketing technology career path. But why? You might be asking. I mean, we just talked about why, but why STEM via schools specifically? And to answer that, let's take a quick trip down memory lane. So at the last US presidential election, there was this big fallout. Mark Zuckerberg got called on Capitol Hill and he got asked directly, how do you make money if you don't charge people for your service? His answer, we run ads. And there was an implied duh in his smirk. And the reason that this is germane to our conversation is that on the one hand, you have the tech, and on the other hand, you have how the tech makes money. Those are two different things, two different career paths. They're similar, but they're not the same. However, STEM education completely ignores this. So the screenshot on the bottom left is from a phenomenal event here in town called Tech Fest. And without throwing any shades or shot at Tech Fest is a perfect example of the blind spot in STEM education because it's very robotics and code centric. And going there, you'd never know that marketing technology was a thing. And what we've essentially done is we've taken a very broad industry of technology and reduced it down to coding, which I know, fighting words for all my programmer friends. And I want all of the smoke because y'all know it take a certain type of person to sit there and stare at some HTML code all day. I mean, even this poor programmer had to take a Facebook break. And so as a young person looking at this and deciding my career path, if tech equals code, but I don't want to code, then that means that tech isn't for me, which is inaccurate. That's actually highly inaccurate, but that's not the kid's fault. That is STEM education's fault for reducing tech down into one thing. So it's either hit or miss, and it doesn't have the same broad appeal as, let's say, a trap music, which let's talk about that. And for those who don't know, trap music is rap music that is specifically about drug dealing. And as it turns out, there are some very good reasons why trap music enjoys the success that it does. And no, it's not because we're a bunch of degenerates bereft of a moral compass. It's because in most cases, drug dealers are the first entrepreneurs these kids have ever been exposed to. And we know from the research that in terms of career aspirations, you got to see it before you can be it. Secondly, they're unashamedly black and unabashedly masculine. What do I mean by this? I mean that they don't code switch or kowtow around white people. So it's an open secret that in order to enjoy a degree of success, you can't make the white folk nervous because bad things happen when you make white folks nervous. So whenever the white folks are around, you essentially behave like Carlton from the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. And for as entertaining as Carlton's character was, it was corny. It was real corny. So again, young person deciding how my life is gonna go, and my options are to be 50 Cent or Carlton's corny butt. I'm not choosing Carlton. I'm trying to turn up off that blueberry Fago. And so they got women, they got money. These are all very powerful motivators to somebody like me. And again, not the kid's fault. This is STEM education's fault for not addressing this. So to the question of why schools, another trip down memory lane, there was this old bank robber by the name of Willie Sutton, got his own law named after him. And they asked him, hey, yo, Will, why you be robbing banks, man? And his question and his answer was, because that's where the children are, because that's where the money are. So to the question of why schools, because that's where the children are. And tongue-in-cheek answers aside, the goal is for this curriculum to be mandatory. I get it that you got to crawl before you can walk. And so if we have to start off as an after school program or an elective, that's fine. But we really do want this to be core curriculum because the reason that is important is provides a no cost alternative to the cost prohibitive and structurally racist conference circuit where a lot of the best practices are disseminated, but these kids are going to be locked out of as soon as they graduate. So the state of Ohio has a student population of about 1.7 million. Assuming about 15% need intervention, that's an addressable audience of about 255,000 at a 1% conversion rate. Because most decision makers have never heard of martech, even though we all use it every day, we'll still enroll about 2,500 kids across 20 or so schools at an average price of $50,000 per school. That's income of $1 million. But college grads are a net positive to society as they contribute almost $400,000 more in taxes than they receive in benefits. They're more civilly engaged and are 5 times less likely to go to jail. So when we talk about ending the school to prison pipeline, one of the best things you can do is graduate a young person from college. And again, we're talking 1% of one state. School to prison pipeline is a national problem, and it's a multi-billion-dollar industry once you add in the commissary and collect calls. And not to put too fine a point on it, this is blood money because these are our kids that we're talking about. And as we previously stated, the STEM education completely ignores marketing technology, even though some of the biggest tech companies in Silicon Valley and in the world are martech companies. And as a result, we are failing to prepare our students for the digital economy they inherit, just like this lineman has failed to protect his quarterback. And again, we are targeting schools with high dropout and incarceration rates, a whole lot more than 20 of those. And our business model is proven. It's very similar to the consortium, only we're starting much younger. We're starting as early as 4th grade. Our current status is that we have incorporated and are refining our curriculum. We have hired a coach to show us the business and are planning branding startup events called Money Melodies Pitch to the Beat, which is essentially Shark Tank meets American Idol. Our team consists of myself, pro marketing technologist with over a decade of experience, and Marie Vera, who brings a holistic view to solving social ills with her master's of global health. Our ask is we need help with mobile app development with the push towards distance learning. We need an app to be able to facilitate that. We also need referrals to site coordinators and community liaisons. So anyone who has access to the children that we can come in and do workshops, and then referrals to principals, judges, and juvenile detention center directors. And last but not least, corporate partners to hire our grads. So please visit us at stemwhisperers.com and follow us on all social channels at STEM Whisperers and help be a part of the solution. Where at STEM Whisperers, we sprout scholars from statistics to significance.